presentation of Orbit ESPN.
For 36 years, there was only one place to be on Monday nights. Now, that place is ESPN. The biggest night in sports just got bigger. Moss, wide open, touchdown! Coming up, coast to coast, pregame to postgame coverage of the first ever Monday Night Football doubleheader. We've got every angle covered with SportsCenter, PTI, NFL Prime Time, and Monday Night Countdown, taking you right up until kickoff. It's all to get you ready for some football. A lot of football. Two big Monday night games.
Looking for Santana Moss. He's there. He catches it. Touchdown, Redskins.
First, coming off a playoff season, expectations are high in Washington as Joe Gibbs leads the Redskins in a hard-hitting NFC matchup against the Vikings. Then out west, it's an old AFL rivalry renewed. Will LT and the high-powered Chargers get lost in the black hole as year 2 of the Randy Moss era takes flight in Oakland? 2 games and more than 12 hours of coverage, all ahead on ESPN.
And with that, a new era of Monday Night Football is off and running right here on ESPN. Welcome into SportsCenter Special Edition Monday Night Kickoff. Glad you are spending time here with us. Us, of course, on this Monday being Trey Wingo, Merrill Hodge, and Sean Salisbury. Guys, we'll be here all season long. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And we're going to be here all night long, too, which is even better.
I am so fired up. This is the way we're supposed to start the season. Let's play 2.
Let's play 2, as Ernie Banks might say, ladies and gentlemen. First of a doubleheader is the Vikings at the Redskins. You know, Washington's offense was abysmal all summer long. Minnesota's going to try and run the ball this year more effectively. For more on what's going on at the first of our 2 games on this day at FedEx Field, we say hello to our own Ed Werder, who's covering the Redskins. Ed, can you give us an update on the status of Skins running back Clinton Portis?
Yeah, Trey, here is the very latest on the Redskins running back whose status has been in doubt since he suffered a dislocated shoulder in the preseason against the Bengals. I just talked to assistant head coach for offense, Al Saunders, who told me he'll definitely be in uniform. He'll definitely play in a backup role tonight. The coaches are going to start Liddell Betts on the basis of having practiced all week. So the role that Portis plays is yet to be determined and will depend on several factors as to when he gets into the game, including how he feels coming out of the pregame warmups and then just the general flow of the game. But it's unlikely that the Redskins would devote a roster spot to Portis unless they felt like he could play an extensive number of snaps. Now for a report on the Vikings, let's go across the field to Sal Palantonio.
Well, Ed, not only is this the debut of Monday Night Football on ESPN, it's also the debut of the new-look Minnesota Vikings. New head coach Brad Childress has completely overhauled this team, a new roster, a new attitude, and 2 new systems. Defensive coordinator Mike Tomlin brings over the Cover 2 system that he was taught from Monty Kiffin in Tampa, and of course the new West Coast offense that Brad Childress brought over from Philadelphia. Luckily, he has Brad Childress, who won the Super Bowl running that offense in Tampa, behind the center running that offense. Now, the only injury to deal with for the Vikings is Moreeeee Moore, the running back. He had a knee injury. He was listed as probable. He will play backup Chester Taylor at the running back position and will return punts, Trey.
All right, Sal, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Don't forget this 2-hour SportsCenter special, just the beginning of wall-to-wall coverage today on ESPN. Following us at 3 Eastern is Around the Horn, then PTI. NFL Primetime kicks off at 4, and then Monday Night Countdown an hour later, all leading up to a Monday Night Football doubleheader, Vikings and Redskins, followed by the Raiders and the Chargers. Well, the Chiefs' Trent Green, not Tom Brady, not Peyton Manning, the only quarterback to throw for at least 4,000 yards in each of the last 3 seasons. Look, if he makes it to that mark this year, it will simply be remarkable. Then again, if he plays again this season, it might be just as remarkable after the brutal hit Green took Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. It happened late in the 3rd quarter as Green attempted a feet-first hook slide against the Bengals. Robert Gathers comes in and absolutely levels him. Green was motionless, knocked out on the field for several minutes, had to be taken off on a stretcher. Eventually, he regained all the senses in his arms and legs, but did suffer, according to Chiefs GM Carl Peterson, pretty severe head trauma. For the very latest on Green's condition, we take you live out to Kansas City now, where Bob Holtzman is standing by. Bob, what can you tell us?
Well, Trey, we're expecting that Chiefs quarterback Trent Green will be released from the hospital sometime today. We're also expecting a much more detailed update on his condition from Carl Peterson a little bit later on this afternoon. As you mentioned, the good news from yesterday, at least, is that the x-rays were negative and he does have feelings in his arms and legs. Now, as for that hit, yesterday, Chiefs head coach Herm Edwards called the hit a helmet-to-helmet hit. When you watch the replay, you realize it actually wasn't helmet-to-helmet. It was shoulder pad to helmet. It was still a very hard hit, though. Robert Gathers, the defensive end for the Bengals, says he thinks he was actually blocked into Trent Green, but he calls the hit physical but clean.
It's part of the game, man. We know that. I mean, I could have got cleaned out there today, you know, but it's part of the game, and we just move on to the next play.
You don't see a lot of hits like that in pro football. You see some, but when they're that bad, it's tough. But Trent's a warrior. Wish him the best, and that's really all that matters right now is his health.
That's tough, you know, and in this kind of small fraternity of the quarterbacks in this league, when you see a guy go down like that, and it's unknown. You know, we still haven't heard of how he's doing or what exactly is going on, but you just start praying for him, and that's all you can really do, and hope for the best.
Now, 33-year-old Damon Huard relieved Trent Green yesterday, came in, was 12 for 20 for 140 yards, did a pretty good job. But Huard's an interesting story because he hasn't really played at all recently. He's been mostly a third quarterback the past few years in the league. Actually hadn't completed a pass until yesterday for 6 years in the NFL. So the Chiefs, when the schedule came out in April, they were upset because they had a bye week 3. That actually may turn out to be a benefit, Trey, because next week they play at Denver. The assumption is that Huard will be the quarterback. Week 3, a bye, maybe, just maybe, and hopefully we'll find out this afternoon if there's a chance that Green may be back week 4.
Bob Holtzman in Kansas City, thanks very much. Look, if he can come back that fast, that would be terrific. We wish nothing but the best for
One of the
Trent
good
Green,
people
the
in
Chiefs,
this league, man.
and his family, no question about it. Okay, let's talk about the play in which Trent Green got hurt. He was in the process of sliding when he took that hit, Merrill, from Robert Gathers. There was no penalty called on that play. In your opinion, should there have been?
Absolutely not. It is actually one of the cleanest plays I have seen when a quarterback actually goes to a slide. You got to remember, the slide was given to the quarterback so that he could protect himself. What you have to do as a quarterback, you have to slide a lot earlier so you can pull off the defender. You cannot ask defenders to stop in midair from hitting you. There's so many things going on during the course of the game. It's a second down situation. Every yard counts. Every yard matters. The one thing that will come out of this, I know a lot of coaches and quarterbacks will look at this, is you must give yourself up a lot sooner than this. There's nothing that unifies players more than an injury like this, and our first concern is for Trent Green and his family. But to sit there because of this, the drama of this, or the tragedy of this, to say that Trent Green should have been a legal hit, absolutely wrong. Trent Green took it way too late in his slide, and actually the hit absolutely clean.
It's obvious that Trent Green's health is the most important, but I will tell you this, anybody that thinks that this is an illegal hit, and if the NFL decides to fine Robert Gathers, we got a major problem, and you'll hear about it right here on this show. It was a legal hit, and if you saw him turn, Gathers didn't go helmet to helmet. He turned and hit him with the backside of his shoulder so he wouldn't unload. Could have been a lot worse, and it was the hit on the ground that caused Trent Green the major problems. And if you look at the yard marker, there was about 3 or 4 yards he went past it. Once you get past that, you got to get down or get out of bounds. The slide was late, and this isn't the Matrix where Keanu Reeves can suspend in midair. When a player commits, he commits. The hit could have been a lot worse if Gathers would have went helmet to helmet. No penalty, no suspension, no fine, good, clean football, and it's unfortunate the way it ended out.
You know, this league is for the offense. I mean, all rules are geared for the offense to be successful. You cannot put defenders in that situation. A quarterback has got to give himself up 3 to 4 yards before that defender gets there. If not, this is going to happen over and over again. In fact, I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Right.
I really am. But Trent Green is not a guy who runs around a lot.
Exactly.
And you notice he was running around a lot in that game. And I think he got in a situation he was not comfortable with, he's not used to, and that's why he slid so late.
Coaches would coach Gathers to do exactly what he did. Play aggressive, but don't play cheap.
And from a football perspective, let's be honest, we're talking about a Cincinnati Bengals team, and we're talking about their defense. We're not talking about their offense that dictated having to have Trent Green come out of that pocket.
A team that couldn't tackle anybody in a run game last year.
Absolutely.
They played really good football.
No, the Bengals defense, actually, you could argue, was a stronger unit in that game on Sunday. And again, we hope nothing but the best for Trent Green. Hopefully he'll be back in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, breaking news in the Sports Center right now, Deion Branch's holdout with the Patriots is over, but he is not going back to the Patriots. ESPN.com's Michael Smith reporting that Deion Branch has been traded to the Seattle Seahawks for a first-round pick in 2007. Michael Smith joins us now on the program. Michael, what happened? How did this finally get done?
Well, the Seahawks really never gave up on this trade, even though the Patriots as had been reported, weren't necessarily eager to trade Deion Branch, and they were dealing with the grievance on their front. The Seahawks never really stopped calling, never really stopped the dialogue, so never really ended between those teams. And at the end of the day, the Seahawks upped their offer from a second to a first-round pick in 2007, nothing more. And I think the Patriots really just figured out, hey, you know, Deion is not going to back down. We're not going to get anything out of the player, so we might as well get something for the player. He was going to sit out those first 10 games. They weren't going to sign him to a long-term deal. Really irreconcilable differences at this point, and why not get a first-round pick for a guy that you might get 6 games from and may not get the best effort in those 6 games from. So the Seattle never gave up, and eventually New England figured, let's get something rather than lose the player for nothing.
Michael, look, the Patriots front office has been tremendous over the last 4 or 5 years, making correct decisions, bringing in the right players. Did they make a mistake by telling Deion Branch, in your opinion, to go out there and see what his value would be in the free agent market? Because it came back, he had a lot more than the Patriots thought he was going to get.
Yeah, I think they did. I mean, when you say to him, hey, go out and shop, and as has been pointed out, I mean, I've talked about that initially. They were talking about 2 first-round picks. They wanted more. They showed all signs pointing to them not being really serious about trading Deion. And when you send a guy out and say, hey, go out and shop yourself around, and in the back of your mind, knowing we really don't want to trade you, but this is the best offer you're going to get because this is where we see your value. And then you come back with 2 teams, one, your former defensive coordinator's team in the New York Jets, another one, Seattle, saying, no, we see you as a Reggie Wayne-type player, as worthy of a $40 million contract. Yes, it is a mistake. So now the player comes back, not with his tail between his legs, but with 2 contracts in his hand, saying, hey, these 2 teams will trade me or will pay me what you won't pay me. And now I know my value was there. So now even if Deion Branch, they didn't trade Deion Branch to Seattle, there was no way he was going to come back to New England and take less money or play for the contract that he was supposed to play for this year because he knew he could get money elsewhere. So their plan essentially backfired in trying to show him, hey, we're paying you the most you're going to get. He comes back with better contracts. They were either going to have to proceed and fight with grievances, that'd be a distraction, which you know they hate, or trade him and get something for him, which eventually they did. So they made out okay getting the first-round pick, but in the end, they did lose to Deion Branch, who held firm in his resolve, stood by his principles, said, I deserve to be paid better, was going to hold out for 10 weeks, and at the end of the day, got his money and got his new team.
All right, Michael Smith breaking the story. Deion Branch traded to the Seahawks for a 2007 first-round pick. We'll check back with you a little bit later on. All right, guys, first thoughts on hearing this trade, because you look at New England against Buffalo on Sunday, they struggled. Tom Brady was not the Tom Brady we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years. 11 of 23, 1 touchdown, or 2 touchdowns rather.
Seattle didn't get the end zone either.
Right. Well, this is devastating for New England, but it is huge for Seattle because the one thing that Seattle lacked last year is their ability to be explosive down the field. No vertical plays. Short to intermediate, dynamite, but they had nothing to complete and attack the safeties deep. A lot of people shrunk their defense on him. A good defense like the Steelers really got after him. This now completes Matt Hasselbeck, gives him 3 options as far as levels go, short to intermediate to deep. Seattle now has a chance, I think, a better chance to get back to the Super Bowl and win it than they did last year.
And when's the last time a quarterback went 25 out of 30 efficient and didn't have a touchdown? Well, Hasselbeck did that yesterday. What you get with Deion Branch in a West Coast, and it's the truest form of West Coast offense in this league, is the ability that Rice and Taylor had. Run after the catch, and Deion gives you that. And you know what you're at now? You know what the Patriots get? You would imagine that the Seahawks are going to finish in somewhere in the Final 4, which means a late first-round pick, not anything near the top. So I think early on, Seattle wins this gig.
And again, people need to understand, Deion Branch, not Terrell Owens, was the best receiver on the field in Super Bowl 39 in Jacksonville not too long ago.
I think he's got an MVP
He
award to
was
show
the
for it.
MVP of that game, no question about it. Again, in case you just joined us, Deion Branch traded from the Patriots to Seattle for a 2007 first-round pick. Lots more coming on this edition of SportsCenter's Monday Night Kickoff. Veteran quarterbacks looking like they made rookie mistakes. Even before tonight's game, Joe Gibbs is celebrating. Find out why a long-ago meeting with young Denny Hamlin is now part of NASCAR legend. And when the games end, coaches and players face the music, coming up the best and worst, and honestly the angriest of Week 1 in the NFL.
SportsCenter Special Edition Monday Night Kickoff. Brought to you by Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours.
Checking in some key games on Sunday. Reggie Bush's debut, pretty good for the Saints against the Browns.
Not bad at all. Versatility, the ability to get him the ball in a variety of places. We'll see more and more of this as the season progresses.
Mismatches, and anybody that thinks he can't run between the tackles is making a grave mistake. This guy is unbelievable, and the touches will continue to grow as the season wears on.
The first guy did not bring him down on many of those plays.
How could you? Look at that, baby.
You should notice.
Factor back.
No TO, no problem for the Eagles. Donovan McNabb, 300 yards and 3 touchdown passes.
So maybe Donovan's better off without T.O. The one thing about this system, and Donovan has it down as good as anybody's ever had it, they do get the ball around to a lot of different places. But I'm still concerned about their ability to run the ball in the red zone.
And their commitment to it, but McNabb, the best quarterback in the NFC, and also knows how to get Dante Stallworth involved.
Okay, if anybody said they had Chad Pennington throw 300 yards in this game, you're lying.
Yeah, and you know what?
You're lying.
You'd be surprised.
And the key is not about Chad Pennington being able to throw with accuracy. He was outstanding, but he threw short, intermediate, long, and most of all, they kept him healthy. You keep people off Chad Pennington, he's a good decision maker.
Obviously the right decision for the Jets because he is the one guy that does give them a chance to win on Sunday.
He made deep throws. Okay, the new-look Falcons defense was working. Only 215 net yards and 65 rushing for Carolina.
Carolina came into this game as going to be the dominant defense. It ended up being Atlanta. And Jake Delhomme, one of the most underrated quarterbacks and inconsistent quarterbacks there is in football.
When he plays bad, he plays bad. John Abraham forced 2 fumbles, 2 sacks in his first regular season appearance.
And then Brett Favre, the first time shutout in his career. Guys, this is the beginning of what could be a long year.
Well, I'm not overly. The Bears, you knew their defense was going to be good. To me, it's the way the offense played. They got the tight end involved, Desmond Clark, and made the big play, which the Bears haven't had in a long time.
See Brett Favre shaking his head. You know where the blitzes came from? Right up the middle.
Right up
those
the middle.
Rookie guards.
The Packers experienced a shutout yesterday for the first time in the Favre era. Green Bay had scored in 233 consecutive games before yesterday, the 4th longest streak in NFL history. Back in 1991, when Green Bay was last shut out, Favre, of course, was a backup for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, some other observations from Sunday. Sean, let's take a look at Jake Plummer and what happened to Denver in St. Louis. In 2005, Jake Plummer in the regular season had 456 pass attempts, threw only 7 interceptions. It was a rebirth. In 2006, he's back the other way. In 26 attempts, he had 3 interceptions.
And you know what? And they looked ugly. He looked like a guy. And he made the comment after the game, well, people may be now pining for the most part for Jay Cutler. Well, guess what? If that's the way you're thinking when you're on the field, give us about 3 weeks and that'll happen. Now, I'm a fan of Jake Plummer, and Trey, you know this, and I have been a long time. This guy's a gamer. He's competitive. He's the best bootleg quarterback we have. But he was forcing balls. It looked to me like a veteran quarterback who was looking over his shoulder, trying not to lose it as opposed to winning it. I'm not worried about the Broncos. They'll be fine. Jake Plummer's not going to lose the job, but Jake's got to play like he did last year, and that means not turning the ball over. Fumbled also through 3 interceptions. That's not the Jake Plummer this team needs to get them to win a division.
Just looked at times like he was trying to force the football where there were receivers that were covered. Let's talk from a veteran quarterback, Merrill, to a rookie quarterback. Vince Young, in his first NFL game, completed all but 1 of his passes for the Tennessee Titans. But it's that one that troubles you.
But he completed it at least.
Yes. Well, just not to the designated receiver.
You know, I thought, watching it, I thought it was one of the most unfair and one of the most embarrassing things I've seen in football. Vince Young's clearly not ready to step on the field in the National Football League. He did nothing during the preseason to prove that he could play. But here is the coaching staff trying to implement gimmick college stuff to play in the NFL. When they actually to drop back right here in a true pro-style look, he had no clue where to throw the football. The same thing in college that he struggled with. He didn't throw the deep ball. Everybody talked about his accuracy. He was very accurate as long as he was throwing the flat route and the screen route. When he threw the ball down the field, he struggled. He has done that in preseason. And what they have done, they jeopardize the learning of other players. Other players have to set back and pull back because of this. I will be shocked and embarrassed for the Titans if they continue to play him like this. And if they do, it's Floyd Reese getting him out there. It is not Jeff Fisher, because Jeff Fisher is
the GM of the team.
The GM of the team.
You know what, though,
that to me is you don't do that to your other players.
Not ready, but you know what? At the quarterback position, Kerry Collins threw some interceptions. He's going to be the starter. You know Vince Young started in 2007, whether we want him to or not. They drafted him, and he's going to start because there is no learning curve for quarterbacks for the most part. And we're on him so hard. You know what? The one thing he did do in preseason that they don't have is he made plays when things weren't there. So you're still.
Now you say they're not there. You watch tape; they are there, and he doesn't throw the football.
Basically,
and going and running around.
That Collins won't do.
He's already been popped a couple of times. He is not Michael Vick as far as running around the football.
He threw 4.
I'm telling you that right now.
And we're already got him buried left for dead.
No, he's not saying buried left for dead. I think what he's saying is
it is unfair to do that to your other players when he is not ready.
It's unfair to him too.
Let me tell you this: Carson Palmer didn't play 1 down. There's nothing wrong with having a guy sit there for an entire year, especially when he's not ready.
Carson Palmer had John Kitna, and please, Carson Palmer and Vince Young. That's comparing apples.
Well, let me say you this.
Down the road.
You're not doing a guy any service by doing it.
Down the
They're a
road,
bad
we'll
team.
figure this out. The bottom line is they got to figure out whether or not it's in Vince Young's best interest to try and treat
They're a
him
bad
like that.
team. They got to
It's
grow.
hurting
It's
the rest of the
bad
team.
football team.
Clearly, this will be something we'll be doing all show long and all season long here on Monday Night Sports Center Kickoff. All right, for once again, every time at 20 past the hour and 20 till the hour, we'll be checking in on the teams for Monday Night Football, keeping you up to the minute as we get ready for the first of our doubleheader, Vikings and Skins. And for the very latest, we check in with Sal Palantonio. Sal, what's happening?
Trey, well, one of the biggest questions the Vikings will have to confront tonight here at FedEx Field is what is the impact of having to release wide receiver Corin Robinson after another substance abuse incident that he underwent a couple of weeks ago. Well, first of all, they'll be without their #1 wide receiver and their Pro Bowl kick returner from last season. So Brad Johnson, the quarterback, is looking for Marcus Robinson, Travis Taylor, or Troy Williamson to step into that role. But basically, as Merrill Hodge would like to tell you, they'll be looking for a difference maker on offense tonight.
All right, Sal, thanks. T.O.'s Cowboy debut ends in a loss. Coming up, what Bill and Drew had to say about Owen's performance. Plus, apparently the Ravens are really serious about making it back to the playoffs, but don't take my word for it. Take the Bucs, because the Ravens sure took it to Tampa Bay.
30 seconds.
Well, it was the start the Cowboys wanted in Jacksonville, just not the finish they were looking for. T.O. and company arrived. Second quarter, Cowboys were up 10-3, and just before the half, Drew Bledsoe throws into, I saw 3 around
Easiest
the intended
interception on the
receiver.
planet, a corner going back to a corner route. That's too easy.
Rasheem Mathis is pumped up after the return, and with 12 seconds to go, it led to this. Byron Leftwich to Reggie Williams for the touchdown, and then he apparently had involuntary muscle spasms. That tied it up at 10. Fourth quarter, 2 minutes remaining. Cowboys down 24-10. Bledsoe this time makes the connection to who else but T.O. Nice adjustment on the ball. He had 6 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Cowboys down only 7, but under 25 ticks to go. Once again, Drew, nowhere near the intended receiver. 3 interceptions. Cowboys lose 24-17. We're joined once again by ESPN.com's Michael Smith, who broke earlier the fact that Deion Branch is no longer with the Patriots. He's with the Seahawks. We'll get to that in a minute. But, Michael, Drew Bledsoe, 3 critical and some would say poorly thrown interceptions in that loss to the Jaguars. Listen, how loud is that drumbeat going to be for Tony Romo to play in Big D now?
Very loud. I can actually hear it here at FedEx Field. Now, in Drew Bledsoe's defense, he did have a couple of costly offensive pass interference penalties, one that took away a completion to T.O. and another one that cost a touchdown to Jason Witten. But there's no denying he played pretty poorly after the beginning of yesterday's game. Now, in the beginning, he was looking good, just like he did in that preseason game against New Orleans. The ball was coming out quickly. He was hitting T.O. on some slants. He was the 1-2-3, the ball was gone. Once the Jaguars made the adjustment and started taking away that quick stuff and started attacking more up front and getting pressure on Drew Bledsoe, that's when everything changed. Now, obviously, like you said, the drum beat is loud for Tony Romo to replace Drew Bledsoe. But right now, and I stress right now, both Bill Parcells and Jerry Jones, I believe, know that Bledsoe is their best chance to win. That could change, as we all know.
Well, Bledsoe had 3 picks. Chris Sims also had 3 picks against that revived Ravens defense. What went wrong for this young quarterback that many people think is going to make the next step forward this season?
Well, a lot of people in the organization, I can tell you, think that he lacks something inside, that he just lacks some toughness. Yesterday, he was throwing off his back foot. He didn't trust his protection at all. He only had 3 completions to wide receivers, all to Michael Clayton, which lets people in Tampa organization know that he wasn't taking the chances that he usually would take. The crowd booed him. They just wonder how thick his skin is, frankly. And, you know, he also gets a lot of balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. And that's something that troubles the Tampa Bay team because the guy's 6'4", 6'5". He's got a long, methodical release. And the amount of balls that he gets batted down to the line of scrimmage really frustrates them. So right now there's some questions about whether Chris Sims, with all the talent in the world, had a great finish to last year, whether he has the toughness really to be a top-notch quarterback and whether he is a quarterback for John Gruden.
Well, Michael, let me ask you this, because their backup is Bruce Gradkowski. Is he in danger of being benched?
No question about it. He was benched in yesterday's game, and when you're benched in the fourth quarter of your first start of the season, that's not a good sign, even if it was a blowout. Fact is, Gradkowski is a better fit for John Gruden's offense than Chris Sims. He's got a quicker release. He's also very mobile. John Gruden, the organization, they love this rookie quarterback. The only difference is he hasn't adjusted to the speed of the game, but he doesn't have the starts, the 9 or 10 starts that Chris Sims has. But people in the organization told me today, they're giving it another game or two. If Chris Sims performs like this, that he's going to go to Gradkowski. Gradkowski is more similar to Rich Gannon, and that's what John Gruden is looking for in this offense. So there's a chance that Gradkowski could be the quarterback for the short term for John Gruden. Remember, Chris Sims was not John Gruden's draft pick. Gronkowski was.
Boy, I tell you, it seems like John Gruden's always looking for the next quarterback. We move on to wide receivers now. In breaking news, as we told you earlier on SportsCenter, the Patriots have traded holdout wide receiver Deion Branch to Seattle for a 2007 first-round draft choice. Branch was entering the final year of his 5-year contract. What eventually got this deal done, Michael?
Seattle just not giving up, really, and the Patriots realizing that they're not going to get anything from or for Deion Branch at the end of the day. He was going to sit out the first 10 games. He had been saying that for months. The people around him, his representatives, have been saying that for months, and there was no sign that he was going to cave in despite the fines he was accumulating. You're not going to get him for 10 games. Maybe you get 6 games out of him. Maybe you get a contribution from it. At the end of the year, they weren't going to be able to sign to a long-term contract. So the Patriots figured, let's save face, get a first-round pick, which isn't bad, and Seattle stayed the course, wanted the player, didn't really give up, even though the Patriots hadn't shown signs of wanting to trade him. So Seattle stuck with it. The Patriots eventually caved in.
All right, Michael, thanks. We'll check back with you a little bit later on SportsCenter. When we return on SportsCenter's Monday Night Kickoff, we'll check in on the baseball situation. Johan Santana dealing again on Sunday. We'll get you caught up on everything else outside the NFL when we return. You know, if you think about it, it really is the simplicity of the game and its brutal nature that we love so much about football. It is 11 men on each side, basically physically trying to impose their will on the opposition and doing it in short bursts over a long stretch of 3 hours. For the loser, it is not a quick finish. There is noise, and eventually there is anger. But for 16 teams, there will eventually be the job of well done and getting the win. A look back now at the sound and fury of the first full slate of Sunday games in the NFL.
I thought Eli played his butt off. You know, I thought he made some big plays and pretty tight coverage on his touchdowns to Plaxico and Shockey, and kind of put it where only his guy had a chance to make a play.
There's no excuses. The one area that is of big concern to me, obviously, are the penalties.
For me, it was Giants versus Colts, and that's what my mindset's been the whole time.
I think they're good. I think they're a really good football team.
I talked about our need in a game like this to stick together, and that the best team, the team that stuck together and fought for 60 minutes, would be the team that win this game. And I thought they did that, and that's what I'm most proud of.
You know, I wish I knew the formula for that, but I don't. So, but it's early in the season, and you know, it's a long way to go. So we just got to try to get better.
Bottom line, we got outplayed, you know, in every facet of the game.
But when you're on that field and it's grinding out 17 plays, that's a long drive.
Man, I'm just going out there and just trying to suck it up.
I've been playing this league for a long time, so I know how it goes. I've lost the first game before. It's nothing new.
You know, I just want to get a win. You know, I wasn't focused on anything else but getting a win today, and that was the number one thing in my mind.
It may look easy to you guys, but it wasn't easy.
Give them credit where credit was due, and they executed and we didn't.
You know, we've been advised we don't comment on officials' calls, and I'm not going to get into he said or what they should have done.
You know, that's opening day.
Yes, it was. Well, for the third straight season opener, Randy Moss will be catching passes from a different quarterback. Find out why Moss thinks Aaron Brooks' arm will make him an even bigger deep threat in the NFL. Plus, after the headbutt heard around the world, why these two may soon be reunited and what Nelson Mandela has to do with it. Plus, Annabelle Sanchez, a second no-no? It was the Manning Bowl last night, first time in league history that these brothers had faced against each other. First time these two had ever played each other at any level like this. 6-0 Colts in the second quarter, and is that Peyton? Is that Peyton on a rollout? Hitting Dallas Clark. 13-0. Eli saying, well, I got to do something now. Now, the Giants trailed 16-7 at the half. New York's first possession of the third on 3rd and 7. Eli, that is a perfect strike to Jeremy Shockey. So tight end for tight end. This cut it to 16-14. Giants still down by 2, 3rd and 2, 4:10 left in the game. Eli hits Tim Carter, and that's a first down, but wait a minute. There is laundry on the field. Flag for offensive pass interference, and that is a tough call. You saw maybe a little bit of the elbow. Normally, if you don't extend the arms, you don't get the call. And Tom Coughlin saying, normally, if you don't extend the arms, you don't get the call. So the Giants are now backed up, and Eli lets it fly. And whether it was a wrong read by Eli or Plexico, it's an easy pick by Nick Harper. Colts had a field goal. They win it 26-21. So what to make of watching his two sons play? Well, we're joined now by the only man who can answer that question, proud Papa Archie Manning. He joins us now courtesy of DirecTV. Now, Archie, you and I talked about this on NFL Live on Friday, so be honest with me here. How difficult was it for you to watch that game last night?
it really wasn't as bad as I anticipated, Trey. And I don't know why, because I didn't know what Olivia was there with me, my son Cooper, his wife. I didn't know what our emotions would be like, but we really made it fine. Now, like I told someone else, every event during the game was kind of a good news, bad news, and I wasn't sure whether I'm supposed to stand up and, I don't holler and scream, but, you know, cheer. But I was hoping for a good football game. It was a good football game. It moved along pretty good. You know, the Colts opened with a 9-minute drive. The Giants opened the second half with an 8-minute drive. So the clock was moving. It seemed like before we knew it, it was in the fourth quarter, and everybody was playing hard. It was a wonderful and beautiful setting there in New York. So it's now that it's over, as we predicted. We knew we were going to have a winner. We knew we were going to have a loser. We did, but we all managed, and we'll move on. And it'll be a wonderful, memorable experience for all our family.
Because I was watching, and I saw a lot of shots of you in the stadium. I don't think I saw you smile once, Arch.
Well, but I was happy. I was proud, and as I said, it was a good football game, tough football game. Two good teams. The Giants lost that game, Trey. But the Giants are a good football team. I was impressed, and I think people that watched had to be impressed with a lot of different elements of this Giant team. And the Colts, as good as they've been the last 6 or 7 years, and you win an opening game, you win a game. It's a big game. You win a game like that on the road, which they've done 6 out of 7 years, opened on the road and won, but still they probably got some concerns today. You know, I know they want to run it better and they want to do a better job of stopping the run.
Yeah, like about 7 yards per carry the Giants had against that Colts defense. All right, what did you say to Eli after the game, Archie?
I just told him that, as I always do, that I was proud of him, I love him, and I thought they had a good football team. And I said, I hope everybody can stay healthy. Y'all gonna have a good football team, and I firmly believe that. I guess the biggest concern I really have about the Giants, their doggone schedule is so tough. But that can be, sometimes I guess you try to look for a positive there. Unlike some divisions out there, and they're in there with the Redskins and Eagles and Cowboys, I just don't believe you have to win 12 games, maybe not even 11 to win that division. That's a tough division, maybe the best in football.
Well, you know, you look at the stat sheet and the box score of this game, Archie, and the stats for Peyton and Eli were pretty identical. In your opinion, did one play better than the other?
No, I don't get into that, and you know, and I'm not really a stat guy when it comes to quarterbacks. But I think they played hard. I think it was tough out there. I know Tim Lewis from the Giants, and he had you know, not a week like you normally have to prepare. He had 3 months to get ready for the Colts, and I knew he was going to have some good stuff, and he had some good stuff. And I think they had the Colts on their heels a lot of times. And the Colts showed their years of experience together. Tom Moore and Peyton and Marvin and Reggie Wayne and Tarek Glenn, you know, that helps. And where they probably won the game was on third down, and they converted a lot of third downs. But a lot of defenses don't get the Colts to third down. You know, they rock and roll on first and second. So the Giants did a good job, and the Colts did a good job.
Yeah, I think at one point Peyton was 10 of 14 on third down passing. Hey, Archie, when it was all said and done, and all the hype that went into it, and the angst you must have felt watching it, was it worth it?
Oh yes, absolutely. We really had a wonderful week in the city in New York. People were nice. The anticipation was flattering. I mean, you kind of look at it like I guess an honor, you know, that they chose to put that game on to the Colts and the Giants. You know, maybe too much hype on individuals, but I was very proud of the boys, the way they dealt with that, and the setting was fantastic. And I think, you know, in a little time from now, and then a year, and 5 years, and 10 years, you'll look on it, we'll never forget it. And I know I won't, and I don't believe the boys will, and maybe a lot of people won't, because as I said, it was a great setting, and it was a heck of a good football game.
Next chance for that to happen would be Super Bowl 41 in Miami. We'll see if that plays itself out. Archie, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Trey.
All right, guys, we're going to play a little Monday evening quarterback Manning style. Merrill Hodge, Sean Salisbury Mayor, let's start with Peyton. We know what kind of veteran leadership he brings. What impressed you most about this game on Monday night?
Well, you know what impressed me most
Sunday
about
night,
Sunday night with Peyton Manning is that, you know, this team constantly relies on Peyton Manning. When they didn't run the football all that well, it just blows me away how he continues to elevate a team and carry a team. Now, keep in mind, he's been doing this for 5 or 6 years, carrying a football team. And the difference that I saw in this game, when Archie mentioned it, was the 6 years that Peyton has on Eli. That experience there, and the difference in the game also is the turnovers. When the Giants got their turnover from the Colts, what did they do? They gave it right back to Indianapolis, and Indianapolis scored, and I thought that was the difference in the game.
For me, Peyton Manning, obviously with the leadership, but it was what he did outside with the lack of the running game and with doing the things he did outside the pocket was impressive for a guy who's a pocket passer. Here you see, first of all, feeling the rush on the left side and knowing when to break the pocket and gain depth so he can square his shoulders and find a way to, even on the run, when you're not supposed to have great mechanics, have the mechanics to make the accurate throw to Marvin Harrison. And when you're a right-hander going to your right, the ball has tendency to drift right. Nice job. And here's another one. Feels, look at his head. Already feels the outside rush. If he comes flat, he's tackled. He gains depth once again to create separation, recognizes that Michael Strahan, a defensive end, is on a good tight end who can run, and Peyton has created the space, and even though he had to fall away from the throw, puts it up there and makes the great catch and does what he needs to do. It was what he did outside the pocket, and he'll have to do more of that this year with the lack of running game. Now, Haji, let's get to Eli Manning. You talked about the experience, but I was impressed with the young man's poise playing at home in front of a hostile crowd.
You know what's a great thing about that playbook? If you were able to show that playbook 6 years ago, you'd probably see Peyton Manning struggling throwing the football on the run and the deep ball, because that's the area he has improved the most in his game. He looked at his accuracy as he was moving and the deep ball, and he's become one of the best deep ball throwers, one of the most accurate quarterbacks in football. And why I bring that up is because I know you're going to show Eli in a second. When he looks at his game, some of that accuracy part he can get better at, and he will get better at once he catches up to Peyton Manning and having as many years as Peyton has.
As he starts to get a feel for where to throw it. And I saw some things in Eli Manning on Sunday night that showed me that he's getting a great feel. One looked pretty simple, but it's the mechanics for Eli Manning. Have a look, first of all. Looks backside, knows he's coming front side. Look at the ball placement, Haji. No wasted motion. His feet are underneath him, and while it looks easy, Haji, you've been a running back. That's not an easy throw. Get it out in front on 3rd and 8 so Tiki Barber
don't get your running back killed.
That's exactly right. And then this one. Here's stepping up in the pocket. Don't take your vision off the receiver. Slide. He didn't step up so far. He got close to the lineman. Have a look. Slide. Eyes up. Look where the elbow is. The mechanics don't suffer. And then if he underthrows that ball's knocked down and deflected. He doesn't. He gives Shockey the great opportunity to make the catch. Haji, I was impressed with both. I have a hunch that this is going to be a rematch somewhere down the road in the next few years.
You know what's interesting? It's somewhat ironic, you know, and go figure, because Archie Manning is their dad, but they are fundamentally sound. Both of them are very fundamentally sound. The thing you showed with Eli kind of just stepping up there, sliding there while he keep his focus downfield, where the ball position is, their release, that's what allows them to go to the next level. They don't have to work on these little things because they've already mastered them.
Hey, Trey, I think that both of these quarterbacks and these teams are pretty sound at the starting quarterback position, buddy.
Way to state the obvious, Sean. We appreciate that. Lots more coming, including the suffocating Bears D, which did something that Lambeau Field hadn't seen in 15 years. Mike Ditka will join us for that. And don't miss a feel-good story of how teams and players of the NFL found the inspiration to get back to football after the attacks of 9/11. Again, time for a Teams at 20 update. Redskins and Vikings. We check in with Ed Werder at FedEx Field. Ed!
Well, Trey, Clinton Portis is going to play in the game tonight. Liddell Betts will start. Now, if Portis is re-injured, ineffective, or plays on a very limited basis, it could put a lot of pressure on the Washington defense. That's something that defensive coordinator Greg Williams has been doing throughout the week, motivating his defensive front seven by praising the Vikings' offensive line. With the offensive line having spent $49 million for left guard Steve Hutchinson, Williams mockingly refers to it as, quote, the best offensive line that money can buy. And Trey, he said to me that his players are, quote, sick of that stuff. He's been rubbing their nose in it all week.
All right, Ed, thanks very much. Greg Williams can certainly game plan a defense, no question about it. As we move on SportsCenter's Monday Kickoff, you know, we have a little feature on the show called Coach Speak. What is Coach Speak, you ask? Well, it's sifting through what coaches say to what they really mean. Here's an example. This is what Browns head coach Romeo Crennel said after their loss to the Saints. Quote, the other team played better than we did, end quote. A reporter asked him, are you angry? He then said, I'm just peachy. He wasn't really peachy. He was angry. Enjoy the Coach Speak and listen for the hidden meaning.
I got a lot of pride in what we do here. We work extremely hard. And to go out there and to get defeated soundly at home is enough to make me sick. But I got a lot of respect for these fans that pay good money to come in here and watch their Buccaneers, and to send them home like we did yesterday is something that makes me sick and humiliated.
It's always nice to come back and talk about a win.
But really, basically, you know, you're never as good as people say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. And this one game, and we got to move on.
That will not be what our offense looks like in the future.
It was a mess, completely.
I like to read and find those little, you guys are good at giving us those tidbits. So you think I don't read your stuff? See, I'm not one of those coaches that say, oh, I never read what you guys write. I read it all.
I think the entire football game is your responsibility. So you get beat like that, you know, hell's bells. You know, you didn't do a very good job, okay, to say the least. And I'm not going to sit here and assess blame upon myself publicly. I get enough of that when I'm walking out to my car.
Those two guys are really, really good backs. Brandon Jacobs, I was walking next to him in the tunnel. I thought he was a defensive lineman. And probably would be too big to be a defensive lineman on our team.
That's a throw that, you know, probably in his younger days he can make on the move, but that's a ball that needs to go in the end zone.
What I will say on Wednesday at the meeting is that the Baltimore Ravens had lost their 11 straight road games, and they went to Tampa and won 27-0. So past history doesn't mean a lot in predicting the future.
I'm not here today to say that there's anything going to keep him out of practice or out of the game on Friday or Sunday, whenever we play. Sorry, I've been up all night, but.
Well, it's week one, and Gruden is on edge. Fire. When we return, top 10 plays from the Sunday that was in the NFL. That's just ahead. Plus, what to make of the Bears and what to make of the Raiders and Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Mike Ditka will join us. It's all ahead on SportsCenter's Monday Night Kickoff. Monday Night Kickoff rolls on, and Steve Young joins us now from FedEx Field in D.C., where he's part of the Monday Night Countdown crew, looking ahead to the first of our doubleheader games, the Redskins and the Vikings. And Steve, let's talk about what we saw on Sunday from some quarterbacks. Donovan McNabb, I guess he doesn't need Terrell Owens. He was phenomenal in that win over the Texans.
Yes, he was, and you would expect that. He had a great preseason. Then you had a whole offseason where he stayed in Philadelphia. He trained with the team. He was very a vocal leader of how we get this locker room back. Yes, last year is gone, and now I'm going to go back and set a tone. So you got to figure that a guy that's been a multiple-time Pro Bowl player would come into yesterday to make a statement, and he did. Although it wasn't, you know, in Houston, he's got to do it every week. But I think he's got the weapons now. He knows that this is a sneaky little Philadelphia team with a stingy little defense. Who knows where they can go, and I think he senses that. 300 yards, 3 touchdown passes. Dante Stallworth looks like he's assimilated into that offense very nicely. Then we go to another quarterback who had a rough day, and that would be Chris Sims. What went wrong for him against the Ravens? Well, the matchups were all wrong. They lost their 2 starting guards. They got overmatched up front. They couldn't run the football. Then they had to throw the football. It's a tough defense. We know that. Baltimore's been that way for half a decade. But the thing that I really came in light to me is that yesterday before the game I thought about Chris did not get a lot of work in preseason, and to protect his health and to, you know, because he's an established quarterback. That's a lot of coaches choose to do that. I would